Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to cut a princess bustier. If it's something you're interested in, then let's get started. I will start by measuring my neck width, which is 3 inches. After that, I'll mark my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. On my shoulder measurement, I'll go down by 1 inch. This is my shoulder slope. After that, I'm going to connect them with a line from my neck width to my shoulder slope. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my armhole opening. To get your armhole opening, all you have to do is to divide your bust by 6, then you add 1.5. So mine is around 7 1/4, so I'll just make it 7.5. After that, I'll go ahead and connect it to my shoulder line. Once I'm done with that, I'll be drawing out my armhole curve. What I'm going to do is to get the midpoint of my armhole opening. Once I get the midpoint, I'm going to mark it. On the midpoint, I'll go in by 1/2 inch. I'll also mark it. Then I'll mark quarter of my bust measurement. After marking all my points, I'll go ahead and draw out my armhole curve. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark out my vertical measurement, which is my bust point, under bust, and my half length. My bust point is 10 inches, my under bust is 13 inches, while the half length is 16 inches. I'll be going back to my shoulder measurement to mark out my neck depth, depending on how deep you want your neckline to be. So you can just mark it out. Mine was just around 3 inches. After marking out my neckline, the next thing I'm going to do is to go to my bust point to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5. So I'm going to add 1/2 inch to it as a sewing allowance. So that makes it 4 inches. I'm going to mark 4 inches at that point. On my under bust, I'll mark 3.5 inches. And on my half length, I'm also going to mark 3.5 inches. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and connect my lines. Once I'm done with that, I'll go to my armhole to get half of my armhole curve. I'm going to mark it. From my bust point, I'm going to connect it with a slant line to the half of my armhole curve. On the side going towards the side front, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches on my half length and my under bust. If you're on the bigger side, you should mark 2 inches or 2.5 inches. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and connect them with a straight line. On my bust point, I'll go down by 1 inch. I'm going to mark it. Then I'm going to connect it with a curve to my under bust measurement. On my armhole curve, I'm going to add 1.5 inches to it. If you're on a bigger side, you should add 2 inches to it. So I'm going to share it between both lines. So I'm going to add I'm going to add 1/4 inch to the upper parts and 1/4 inch to the lower parts. Then on my bust point, I'll go up by 1 inch. After that, I'm going to connect them to that 1 inch. What I'm going to do next is to extend that line by 1.5 inches. So the 1.5 inches I took on the armhole curve, I'm going to add it back to my bust line. What I'm going to do next is to draw a new armhole curve right there. Next thing I'm going to do is to take cut of my bust measurements, which I've already marked. Then I added 1.5 inches from the armhole. Then I also added 2 inches sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark it right there. On my under bust, I'll mark quarter of my waist measurement, which is 7 inches. Then I'll also add the allowance, the that allowance I took. That's around 1.5 inches. I will mark it. Then I'll also add the 2 inches sewing allowance. I'll mark the same measurement I took on my under bust. I'll mark it on my half length. Then I'm just going to join them together. Once I'm done taking all my measurements, I'll go ahead and cut out my fabric. To cut out my back, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch. This will serve as my zip allowance. So whatever measurement I want to take, it will start from that 1.5 inch. Just like I did for my front, I'll mark my neck width, which is 3 inches. Then I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder, which is 8 inches. After that, I went ahead to mark my neck depth, which is around 2 inches. I'm going to connect my lines. I would typically just do the same thing I did from my front to my back. Get my shoulder slope, draw out my armhole curve, measure my bust line, under bust, and my half length. After taking out my measurements, I'm going to measure half of my nipple to nipple point, which is 3.5 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch to it at my bust point. Then I'm going to measure 3.5 inches on my under bust and my half length. Then I'm going to connect them together. I'm going to measure half of my armhole. I'm going to mark it. Then I'm going to connect it to my bust point. After that, I'll mark my horizontal measurement, my bust, quarter of my bust measurement, and I'll add the necessary sewing allowance. Quarter of my waist measurement, I'll also add the necessary sewing allowance. On my armhole curve, I'll be extending that line by 1 inch, just like I did for my front. I'm going to draw out a new armhole from that point. After taking all my measurements, I'll be cutting out my fabric. This is how it looks like once I'm done cutting out my fabric. So all you have to do is just to add lower part to it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.